I'm really honored to have my last public events at PIIE, which I have a full respect. And also I want to ask for excuses because with a few days left, it's very hard to prepare the slide and the written speech. And so excuse my moral hazard problems. Ta-da! But I'll mention 5 points regarding the conjunctural issues of these Iran events on Asia and especially for Korea. The first thing is, unlike Russia-Ukraine war, I think Asia is in the line of the straight fire, and we will be more affected. And for example, in Korea, 70% of our oil import is coming from Middle East, and except Japan and China and Korea, not many middle-income and low-income Asian countries has fallen the oil reserves. In our case, as Anna mentioned, we probably have about 200 days of reserves. Japan, 250 days, according to what they say. But I do not want to mention the country's name, but many low-income and middle-income Asian countries have a very couple of weeks reserves. So if the current situation continue more than a month now from now on, I'm sure that it's not just the price effect, but also the quantity effect will significantly affect many low and middle-income Asian countries. My second point is that even though Asia is mostly affected, it will have a very large repercussion to the global market. And I mentioned many supply issues, but I can echo because not many people know Korea is an oil exporter. We import a lot of crude oil from Middle East, but we have a very well-developed refinery industries. So, for example, we export our jet fuels to the United States, and our share of the jet fuel consumption in the United States is about 20%. So if the Korea refinery is not working properly, sooner or later, it will definitely have a large price impact on the travel, aviation, and the jet oil prices. And fertilizer is one other example, but also plastic bags. We are using naphtha a lot to produce plastic bags, but plastic bags they are using for mostly the delivery of the food services, and it will definitely affect the domestic consumption too. And many people say that why we cannot import, because at the time, US oils instead of the middle-income oils, and this may lessen this kind of problem. The problem is that our refinery facilities are designed to handle heavy crude oil from Middle East. So in order to use a light crude oil, they need to change the facilities, but many businessmen say it will take about 6 months. But at this moment, because of a lot of uncertainty, they are not willing to spend the investment. Maybe it's good for the long-term diversification of the supply, but in the short term, you never know what will happen. So they are delaying their investment to change these facilities, which means that even if we can import American oils, it can be used for other purpose, but this kind of supply chain impact won't be mitigated. My third point is specific to Korea, but we have now not only the oil shock, but we have a positive super semiconductor cycle shock. So we are very lucky because if we just have oil shocks, then we will have a more serious negative impact. But given that we have a huge export boom through the semiconductor super cycle, and whoever wins this AI competition in software side, whether it's going to be Google's, whether it's going to be OpenAI, we believe that they need a semiconductor. So our two major semiconductor companies will do well, and they told us that at least for the next 1.5 years, kind of supply is already pre-sold. So it's a good news in the short term. But what makes us central bank, as you usually already worry about the risk concern, is that looks like a market, Korean market, including external market too, like having a kind of perfect, assuming the perfection. It means that currently when you look at the stock prices, is this assuming that this Iran war will end in a couple of weeks rather than a couple of months? And at the same time, they are based on the assumption that our AI super cycles will continue at least 1 or 2 years. But it's a good news for us temporarily, but if it's one of the two assumptions goes wrong, whether the Iran war lasts more than a week and more than a month, that's a problem. Also, if the super cycle ends soon, then we'll have a double whammy. So this is a problem. My first point is that this is related with the volatility in our financial market. Many people cite the volatility of our stock market prices and exchange rate as evidence that Korea is mostly affected and quite vulnerable to this shock. Some sense it's true, but it's a little bit over-exaggerated because this is related with the super cycles. Our stock prices in the last couple of months increased more than 100%. The world best performance of the stock prices because of the semiconductors. Immediately after the Iran war, in 2 days, stock price dropped by 20%. And after that, it fluctuated like 5-10% daily, depending on what Mr. Trump says. So it's quite volatile. But the main reason why it drops significantly is because it increased so rapidly, because semiconductor cycles. Likewise, exchange rate volatility has been quite high in the last 1 or 2 months. It's because the stock price increased more than 100%. Many foreign investors think it's a good time to cash out. So we see the huge outflows from our foreign investment in our stock market. So definitely our exchange rate is affected by what is happening in Iran, but also because it's partly reflecting our stock price moved really rapidly. On the other hand, our bond yield has increased, but the increase of bond yield reflecting the higher inflation expectation is in line with bond yield in other countries. So that's my point. And then my last point is that what's going to happen from now on, it really depends on the intensity and the duration of these Middle East events. And it's very hard to predict how long this is going to end. So I won't jump into, So we actually, in last week, we had our Monetary Policy Committee meeting, and we decided to hold our interest rate at 2.5%. We call it a strategic patience because we don't know what's going to happen. Our financial market prices move in the volatility depending on what's happening in Iran. So for the time being, we have to watch what's going to happen. But definitely, I think in Asia, we will see more trade-off between the inflation and the output because unlike Europe and others, this time, because of the Middle East shock, we will have a more shock to not only the price, but also its growth. I'm very happy that, I shouldn't say happy, but I'm happy to see my successor is well-known scholar in the world, and he will take care of this serious problem for me. Thank you.